Hi everyone, meteorologist Ed Valley here, taking a look at South America, and we have the last 3 days of estimated satellite precipitation, and I use estimated as a very crucial term here. However, you can see just in the last 3 days, we've seen very heavy rainfall from central and southern Cordoba down towards Rosario, and then northwestern Buenos Aires here. And again, you see the scale 8 to 12 inches. Not sure if that was quite how much fell. This tool uses cloud tops and other radar imagery to put together estimates. So just know that this is likely a little overdone, but the area, the geographical aerial coverage here is likely very close to accurate. And we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but we've been pretty wet here. You go back 7 days, and you can see even still a bigger swath of very heavy rainfall here in Argentina. Moving up into Brazil, last 72 hours. Some rain last 24 hours in parts of Rio Grande do Sul and parts of Santa Catarina and southern Paraná. Also scattered rains up in central Brazil, but you notice the last 7 days have been a little drier across parts of Brazil. Admittedly, we've seen quite a bit of holes in the precip shield comparatively to past weeks where it's been sopping wet. So it's been a drier week in central Brazil as Argentina got wetter, but that's all going to shift back here in the coming days and weeks. So I wanted to start here looking at the bigger picture. This is using CPC gauge data. It's at a half a degree. It's not as high resolution as we would like, but down in South America, our options are unfortunately limited. And you can see here it uses CPC gauge climatology 1991 to 2020. So that's what this data set is being compared to. And you can see here, dating back to Saturday evening, the 60-day precip has been pretty bad in southern Brazil and in northern and central Argentina. Rio Grande do Sul, Paraná, Paraguay, and northeastern Argentina have seen the worst of the dryness, even southern portions of Mato Grosso do Sul. North, largely doing just fine. Goiás and Mato Grosso and northern Mato Grosso do Sul. So the last 60 days have not been friendly to our friends in the south. Now, you go back to the last 30 days, and you can still see that footprint. It's just not quite as bad, right? And if we go within the 10-day period, you can see everything has been flipped on its head, and we've seen heavy rains in Cordoba, in Buenos Aires, in pretty much all of the San Luis, La Pampa, northern La Pampa. So the South has done really well over the last 10 days. And that goes along with what we just talked about, okay? So we've seen a pattern reversal. Are we going to see that continue? We'll get to that in just a second. So first things first, do want to take a look at cumulative precip dating back to September 5th. This is from the USDA. Mato Grosso aerially, you can see doing just fine. We've seen a little pullback this past week with the dryness, but still doing just fine. But Paraná, you notice, we're starting to get as bad or even worse than we were last year. So the rain coming up is crucial. Rio Grande do Sul, it's even worse. You can see black is the normal, red is this current year, and we started off just fine, but we're trending in the drier direction, and we're on pace with last year now. And then down into Buenos Aires, Argentina, you can see we're drier than last year. In Cordoba, we're a little bit better than last year. So all in all, the further south you go, the worse the conditions are relative to normal. And Rio Grande do Sul and parts of Paraná are likely worse than last year. Likewise with Buenos Aires, but Cordoba is doing a little bit better than last year, and that does equate to 30% of Argentina's total corn production. So with that being said, now let's move to the forward-looking forecast and what the heck is going to happen here over the coming days and weeks. So over the next few days, you're going to notice more heavy thunderstorms into Tuesday across Argentina and parts of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. And it's really not until the end of the week we start to see this really start to move north. You see Wednesday, Rio Grande do Sul getting on the action. But it's not until later Thursday and Thursday night that gets up into central Brazil and Paraná. And you notice at that same time we're drying out in Argentina. I've said this in past videos. You can't be wet everywhere in South America. That's way too big of a geographical area to be possible. So we're seeing that shift start to happen now as things move northward. That's a perfect correlation to the MJO evolution we're going to see, and we'll go over that in a second. And through the weekend, you notice all of those rains really centered up in Brazil, and maybe we get some spotty stuff next week in Argentina, but I think for the most part here, we're going to see quite a bit of that moisture up in Brazil versus further south. So through the week ahead, you see that rain early in the week in Argentina doing pretty well. Not much in southwestern croplands, but we're seeing the rains return to Brazil here into next weekend. And by next Saturday, the 29th, Brazil is well watered. Northern central Argentina are well watered. However, I want to point your attention to this 5 to 10 day forecast because this is the concern. The concern that we've been talking about is as this MJO pushes out of phase 8, the precipitation risk in Argentina starts to drop again and it moves back into Brazil. That's a great thing for Brazil, not so great for Argentina. The one thing that you can at least see here is it looks like temperatures are not going to be all that hot in Argentina here during this time. And you can see similar idea on the GFS, good rains, well watered through the weekend. But when you look at the 5 to 10 day, you notice the rains are centered up in Brazil and more scattered down in parts of Argentina. You can see how that compares to normal. It's drier than normal in Argentina, better rains the further north one travels. And it's all related to the MJO. We're coming out of phase 8 here recently. We're going 5, 7, 6. What does that mean? Well, phase 8 is wet. And you see in phase 5, you start to dry Argentina out and shift that moisture into parts of southern Brazil. And you see that continue into phase 7, drier Argentina. And then as you get into phase 5 again in February and 6, you notice the rain is more variable. And it's still on the drier side in Argentina. That's kind of where we're going here. And the other thing is this AAO forecast. The Antarctic Oscillation does dictate some of South America's weather. We're seeing it generally positive here moving forward on both the European and the GFS model. And that tends to favor the following. For precipitation, it favors some southwestern Argentine croplands, but a wetter Brazil, a drier southeastern parts of Argentina in this situation. But it's also a cooler pattern as well. So again, I think the precipitation pattern in parts of Argentina will become variable. But Brazil, you'll see in our 16 to 30 day forecast, we actually have it above normal in southern Brazil during the heart of February, thanks to that MJO evolution and then the Antarctic Oscillation as well. So still some uncertainty exactly how this plays out. We are near to slightly below normal in parts of central Brazil. I could see that leaning wetter if some of the new information is correct. But notice the warmest conditions in parts of southeastern, south central Brazil, not all that hot comparatively to what we've been seeing. And again, Argentina does not favor hot weather according to the research and the forecast moving forward on the MJO side. So again, not a perfect solution here. But I think over the next 15 days, we're going to have a lot of well-watered croplands. You'll see here, looking at the next 15 days, just in one picture, you can see it's at or below, or excuse me, at or above normal for a lot of folks. But again, a lot of this is heavy front-loaded in the south and then back-loaded in the north as things progress northward over time. So that's what we got for you today. Plenty to watch. If you have questions, let us know, and we'll be back next week with another video.